Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching The Moore Show and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. Now for the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined with my guest, Kate Montana. Now Kate has a master's degree in humanistic psychology and writes and teaches about the ego, transpersonal and transcendent consciousness, quantum physics and evolution. Now she's been a journalist for 30 years and served as the NW Bureau Chief and Editor for the National Native American paper and has written for the Seattle Magazine and numerous other Northwest publications. Kate Montana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be on.
It's great to get you on. Yeah, again. We were just saying off air actually. You came on, we think it was about 3 years ago, and just how much has changed in those 3 years.
How much has changed in the last 3 months or the last 6 months?
Right. And this was not a book, you were just saying off air, that you ever thought you were going to write.
Oh, God, Kevin, I tried to not write this book for 7 years. I didn't want to come out of the closet and admit that I knew anything about enlightenment. I didn't want to set myself up as a spiritual teacher. But Spirit in December of 2014 just sat my butt down in my chair and said, you will write what you know about the ego and enlightenment. And I was like, okay, yeah. So, and it just fell out of me. And within, 2 months of starting the book, I actually had a publishing deal with Simon & Schuster's latest imprint, Enliven Books. So it was just like, brrr.
That's
it was
really
so
quick.
Fast,
That's really quick. Yeah,
it's
wow.
very quick. So that was a total sign to me that, this is time for this message to come out, that we need to know who we are and what we're dealing with here on this planet.
Absolutely.
While we still have a planet.
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's going to be around sometime. Maybe we won't, but it will. Our consciousness will always be around. I always say we're a soul having a human experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I mean, obviously, I don't remember anything about the last interview. Probably you won't as well. You've done so many, but I don't even know what the book was about. Unearthing Venus. Was it Unearthing Venus?
Very good.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's what it was. It was about the divine feminine and the blending of the masculine and feminine energies to create wholeness. Yes.
That's right. Okay. So, people have said to me, I think you've got an ego, Kev, and I'm like, I think I have, but I don't think it's untamed. I think I've got it on some leash. We've all got an ego. I mean, first of all, what is the ego? Because this thing gets talked about all the time. It really pisses me off, actually, that it gets so much attention. It's like, well, hang on a minute. What are we actually talking about? Are we talking about our human side or our consciousness? Our consciousness is what we truly are. And when we come from love, we come from that consciousness. But then what is the ego then? Is that the makeup of the brain or something? You explain it, because yeah.
Well, first of all, I'd like to reassure you and everybody else that you're right. The ego's gotten a bad rap lately. Like, we're supposed to dissolve it, crush it, kill it, leave it in the dirt, whatever. And the thing is the ego is simply our sense of personal self. Full stop. That's it. Very simple. It's our story about who we think we are. We think we're Kevin Moore. We think we're Kate Montana. We think we're a man or a woman, a writer, a blogger, a chemist, a bus driver. So that's our story. And it's all based in the past. And it's a structure of personal self. And if we didn't have some sense of personal self and sense of structure, we would not be able to engage in a conversation like this. There'd be no differentiation. It would just be this infinite quantum undifferentiated soup. And there would be no life as we know it in form. So form actually creates and molds, well, let me not say it not creates, it molds consciousness. It structures it. So that's simply what the ego is. Now, that's not problematic. It's great. It's the vehicle that enables us to live on planet Earth. The problem is we don't know what it is. The problem is we don't know as a whole what we're dealing with. We don't know underneath that who we really are. We talk like in church, and we make sounds and noises, like spirit and soul. We use these words, but we're really boundaried beings. We're defined by our skin boundaries. We truly believe that we are physical beings because that's the message our bodies give us 24/7, just full on our entire lives. So, we nod to the unseen, but the seen is what we're dealing with. And so the problem is our ignorance about what you term consciousness, what I term I am, that infinite consciousness, God, source intelligence, however you want to frame it. That's the underpinning of all life, of course. And so structure arises from that. So we really need to get a handle on what the ego is, what it isn't, and who we really are, because at this point in time, we've got egos running amok everywhere. We've got the biggest freaking ego on the planet now, ensconced in the White House in the United States and shaking things up considerably. And that's problematic because the unaware ego is lost in its own boundary and scared to is scared because they see no connection between people, between skin suits. It's all me, you, us, them, hence walls and weapons and wars. So that's a kind of a long-winded, and I already got into politics. Sorry about that.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Story about the ego. It's all about it's the ignorance part that's really tripping us up.
Yeah, but I mean, how can you? I mean, what difference does would someone's life be to realize that the ego, being the false them, is not who they really are, that there's a greatness that's behind their eyes, that's the soul, that's just a word for it, or that's the essence of God, that's just a word for it, that's this vastness that is this consciousness that's always been and always will be, and is we can't remember it, we don't know where we came from, we have no memory of anything, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Right. So it's not like we can trace its roots or say it's what kind of life do you think it makes living from the space that you described as the ego, as the false personality, compared to living in the space of the consciousness of who we truly are?
The world we have today is indicative of egos on a journey who are clueless at this point about the journey, about the structure of the ego, and that they're not it. So we live in a very divided world. We live in a polluted world. We live in a violent world. We live in a very unhappy world. So that's the end result in a nutshell of living in ignorance, of who we not, and not knowing and not genuinely into that larger, deeper self. Thinking that the ego is it's all, and which is all material based. So life becomes all about the material world and having more stuff in the garage and bigger cars and bigger houses and more houses and vacations and vacation houses. And it becomes about acquisition, and it becomes about defending those acquisitions. It becomes a very divisive environment and a very destructive environment. And I'm going to dip straight back into politics right now. We've got a perfect example in Donald Trump of a very boundaried, and I'm going to use the word unevolved ego, because everything evolves, Kevin. Life is an evolutionary journey, and the ego is no exception. So, and I'll talk a little bit later, and I talk about it in my book, The E Word. I talk about the evolution of the ego, and I refer to Dr. Abraham Maslow, who was the founder of transpersonal psychology and the fourth wave of psychology in the 60s and 70s, and he outlines the actual evolutionary journey of the ego from a very physical base into a transpersonal space. So a boundaried, more limited, less evolved ego thinks it's it, and therefore it's all about acquisition, it's all about fame, fortune, looking good, and holding on to what it's got. So we've got Donald Trump in the White House talking about building walls against Mexico and kicking Muslims out of the country and all this divisiveness. That's a boundaried, frightened ego. On the other side of that is an example, Bernie Sanders. He's a great example of a more evolved ego that instead of being exclusive, me over here, you over here, there, never the twain shall meet and go whatever, yourself. You've got Bernie Sanders, who's very inclusive. He understands that the old Native American saying that, what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves is true, that we are interconnected in very obvious ways in this planetary ecosystem of ours. And that as I am wounded and capable of being wounded, so is everybody else on this planet. We all bleed the same way. We have the same hopes and the same fears, the same desires. And we have different stories. Our egos and our experiences are different. We're beautifully unique. It's this multiplicity, it's this mystery of multiplicity and oneness. But we are essentially one. And so you have a politician like Bernie Sanders, and he's coming from a more evolved, inclusive ego mindset. So if we go in that direction and say we had a Bernie Sanders on the throne in the United States, then all of our policies would be about inclusivity, about reaching down and helping the less fortunate and moving forward globally as one people to be able to solve all of the problems that trigger all of our unhappiness, hunger, starvation, all of the ecological disasters that we're contributing to because we're in acquisition ego mode in a lower expression. So that's fundamentally the difference. The difference is between hell on earth and heaven on earth. I mean, if we want to be blunt about it, and I just was.
But it makes you think, doesn't it? As a soul then, we chose to come down into this reality, or come into, not maybe down or up, but just into this reality.
Yeah.
Or we're, this is an illusion and we're just part of something bigger, or someone else's daydream. But, we chose knowing that this was the way it was going to be. So we've, what are we doing? What it almost comes to, well, why are we choosing to come into a reality where the ego exists? We must have wanted this experience. So then it comes down to, is there any really wrong or right?
Well, if you're asking me if there's any wrong or right, my answer is no. It's all, well, my answer is yes and no. Everything is relative. Ultimately, if you're coming from a transcendent perspective, no, there's no such thing as right or wrong. If you're in the dream of duality, and if you mugged me or somebody raped my sister, I would say yes, that's dead wrong. So we have morality, we have rules and laws
how much does those decisions come from love, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking love or fear here. So, yeah, and it's so interesting because if you'd asked me 15 years ago the question, well, the soul chooses to come here and we know ahead of time that this is the story and why the hell are we doing it? And I would have scratched my head and gone, Kevin, I don't know, why the hell we do this. We just do. But, now, so far down the road, I can't even say that we choose to come here. I don't know that that's a truth anymore. If you'd talked to me 15 years ago, I could have told you anything about everything, how the world was created, what creation from the Big Bang onwards. I could have told you everything. I was absolutely bona fide sure I knew about everything.
But do you feel?
No,
like,
I know very little.
The More Show connects personal development, metaphysics and consciousness tools for transformation, empowerment and awakening. Please support this independent show so Kevin can continue to bring you the most inspiring and alternative interviews and videos. Go to www.themoreshow.com/donate. You can also support The More Show through Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/The More Show. Or you can make a quick and easy donation from PayPal using PayPal at themoreshow.com.
My name is Courtney Amundsen, and I offer private channeled readings to help you to connect with your soul and your divine purpose. You see, it's so beautiful because what I'm offering is to help you to step into your empowerment and your inner teacher, your inner divinity. And this is such a beautiful experience because it's coming home to your true self. It's unveiling what already is you. And in this place, you can live in guidance, you can live in freedom, you can live in your authenticity. So if this calls to you, you can book a reading with me at morechoice.com/Courtney. So thank you so much, and I hope that you join me soon.
We only know what we know. But then, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I was forced to have come here. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like I was forced to have come here. But because I don't believe in it. If when I go home, I don't believe in any judging God. Definitely don't believe in any hellish environment. I just think we were the gods that chose to create this reality, and we're the gods that haven't any experience. We're no bigger or separate or worse.
Yeah.
But I guess it just comes down to, through my teachings that I'm getting through to me as well, that it doesn't have to be so difficult.
No, it doesn't have to be so difficult. And the way it becomes less difficult is that we get a handle on the structure of the ego, what we're battling with, why we're so frightened, why we believe we're separate in the first place, so that we can bridge out of that ignorant place that our bodies naturally give us, the impression, the appearance of separation and physicality. It's inescapable. That's the gig. That's the gig on planet Earth. And so I just want to go back to what you said earlier. It's just like, so who is the I that decided to come here? It's not Kevin Moore that decided to come here, because when we leave this mortal coil, the personality, the ego, the story of a particular body in a particular point in space-time drops away. It drops away two ways: death by enlightenment or physical death. Once the story of the personal individual self has been seen through for the ultimately illusion that it is, then there is no more Kevin Moore and Kate Montana. Yes, there's the memory of the story, and you can still choose to use the persona so that you can interact with other people, but you no longer identify as a human being because you are no longer a human being. So what has ascended the throne at that point is the I, that boundaryless, infinite intelligence, source intelligence, spirit, I am. So that I that comes and embodies, and that I is what gives life to everything. So it doesn't really choose, it just can't help but show up because we have this gig going on planet Earth.
Oh yeah.
And so the I, with no judgment or, oh my God, am I really going to want to walk through that door? Oh God, I remember the last time and it, beat the crap out of me. There's not that judgment going on as far as I'm aware of anymore. It's like, wow, I just shows up in the little baby body and it's like, here I am. And this is, and I talk about this in the book because this is the crux of the matter, Kevin, is we've got to get a handle on the illusion of physicality. So when we come in, when I, this great, grand, undifferentiated, infinite isness, cosmic intelligence shows up and in the body, and we get squirted out of the birth canal, and it's like, wow, all of a sudden it's body. It's all impressions, sense impressions, 11 million sensory bits of data a second assault my little baby brain, your little baby brain, everybody's brain 24/7 for our entire lives. Eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue, it tells us I am physical. Oh my God, I can feel this and smell this and sense this. It's a tsunami. So our very, very first impression, and it's totally unconscious because it's totally pre-verbal, is I am physical. Okay, that's message number one. The second message that comes immediately with that is I am separate. Again, this is a pre-verbal, unconscious, this is how it is message that we get 24/7. Because in my little baby body, I quickly realized that mommy is out there. The breast or the bottle that I hunger for is out there, and I've got to reach for it and cry, and daddy's out there, and my teddy bear, my skin tells me, my boundary, my senses, my brain informs me that I'm not my blanket. I'm not my teddy bear. And so this unconscious messaging 24/7, I am physical, I am separate, I am physical, I am separate, I am separate. This message is the foundation of all fear. This 24/7 separation message is what makes us so frightened. So at about 12 months or therefore of age, a little baby, you and your little baby body, your mommy and daddy went, Kevin, oh, we love you, Kevin, we love you. And somewhere around 12 months of age, your brain, not you, because you still don't have words and language, so you can't think. Your little baby brain went, Kevin, huh. And if you could, have words at that moment, your brain would have gone something like, huh, wow, I bet that's my name. I bet that sound, Kevin, is associated with this weird sense I have about barking dogs, about being in a skin suit. This odd sense of being separate from mommy and daddy and milk and bottles and bears. I bet that sound, Kevin, is attached to that sense. And that's that becomes that sense, that language moment is when we build a coat hanger. And this is the beginning of the structure of the personal self, the personal ego. Because from Kevin and associating it with this weird, uncanny sense that you're separate from everything around you, you learn pronouns, I and me and you and us and them, and then you learn you're a little boy, and then you go to school and you learn history and you learn your place in the social role of things. And so the story grows and grows and grows. And what it grows upon is this unconscious belief, I am physical and I am separate. And you quickly learn that as a separate individual in the skin suit, you can be wounded. You can be hurt. You will be hurt physically, emotionally, mentally. And so we begin, the story of ours in this skin suit with this sense of I am separate, that's the ego sense that becomes very boundaried and very defensive of its own territory and space, because it's all based in this fearful perception that I am separate. And it's a damn lie. It's not really true. All the mystics for thousands of years have informed us that we are one. My father and I are one. And now then 100 years ago, quantum physics shows up on the scheme of things and informs us of the exact same message. I sit here with a table and my telephone and my glass of water, and I think these are all separate objects in space-time, but they're not. Quantum physics tells me that there is no boundary between my hand and this glass, that it's all a quantum soup of information and consciousness, borderless, boundaryless, infinite, and that the entirety of the universe is encapsulated in one cell in my little pinky finger. Whoa! But have we incorporated that knowledge base into our day-to-day how we interact? Hell no.
No. Well, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to I mean, I love my friends, but there's a lot of them that would never, look into the type of work that I do because,
Hmm.
it's completely alien to they are very much in their truth that there is nothing beyond death. There was nothing
Yeah.
before death. And
Yeah.
until you show me the proof, I'm not going to live from that perspective of the case that, I am more than my body. But
Yeah.
but what are they really? Are they missing out on anything? I mean,
Well, no, because they're actually, if you want to look at it in a particular way, they're absolutely right. There is nothing before their birth, and there is nothing after their death, because the ego and the sense of personal self, their story, is born with the body and dies with the body. And if they choose to become spiritual and follow the spiritual path and seek enlightenment, good luck with that. You know, they will run into the same understanding is there's nobody left at the end of the road to be enlightened, because enlightenment is the end of the personal perspective. So
but I,
it's
don't,
it's
I mean, I do feel
yeah.
that when I cross over, that this is only
Hmm.
my understanding. I feel that I will take the me that I am now,
Hmm.
and not lose the me that I am now, but just
Yeah.
add to it and just remember the me that I was before as well,
Right.
and everything else. I don't feel like I'll lose me, as in, I don't know what is me, but it's the
That's the
yeah, yeah,
question, Kevin,
yeah,
right
yeah.
there. What is me?
Well, what is me? If you take away the personality, it really is just love, and a lot of because I've touched that space. I touch it
Hmm.
all the time when I channel, and I've touched it from my near death experience. It's just
Hmm.
it's knowing, it's love, and it's just
Hmm. But it's you knowing. It's you feeling that love. It's you experiencing the love. The trick is in and I'm certainly not here to argue with you, because I will plainly look in this little green light that I'm looking at and go, I don't know, Kevin. From what I understand, because oh God, and this is a lie right here that I'm about to tell you. I've experienced, because I have not experienced enlightenment, because enlightenment cannot be experienced. It just is a state of transcendent awareness where there is no I to experience anything. There just is isness, life. Love is part of that, but everything is a part of
well,
that.
yeah, but we're explaining something with words there that makes no sense.
Exactly. I know.
I mean,
I know that because we have this framework, this structure that says, I am here and you are there, and I hope to hell this goes on. This me that I'm aware of.
okay, well,
I mean, yeah, go
you
ahead.
look at the Seth material. It always talked
Uh-huh.
about another other material, not just the Seth. It always talked about that. Don't be worried, because this persona that you are now, it will continue. You're not going to lose your mind or lose your soul. It is you.
Nothing is ever lost. But if we let's take a look at the wave in the ocean thing. I mean, the wave, if you want to call yourself a wave, you're there one moment and then the wave dissolves back in the ocean. Now, is the wave still there? No. Is what constituted the wave still there? Well, yeah, it's part of the ocean. So nothing is ever lost. Nothing is ever lost. It's all there. But the structure is gone, and the need to hold on to the structure is gone, and the need to hold on to the story is gone, because the story instantly, when you become the ocean, it's like, well, you all stories, and it becomes very apparent that the story in the wave really, really ultimately was an illusion, and that you were always the ocean to begin with. And it's scary. It's scary as hell to the ego to think, oh my God, one day I'm not going to exist. And the only reason I can talk like this is because, well, I went for I man, when I hit the wall at age 30, Kevin, and I realized that the material girl gig wasn't going to make me happy, that all the money in the world and all the 401ks and all the husbands and foreign cars weren't going to do it for me. And then I embraced spirituality. And I understood at that point very quickly that enlightenment was the end goal. So, being a real lean in type A personality, I went for the gold. I left my network television job. I left my husband. I left everything and went and lived in a one room cabin in the middle of the North Georgia mountains with no indoor plumbing in the middle of nowhere for years on end so I could just meditate. And I meditated my ass off. And I leaned in because I wanted enlightenment, because I didn't want to be me anymore, because the me that I was unhappy, frightened, insecure, uncertain. In a place I didn't want to be anymore. So I pursued enlightenment, and lo and behold, and 17 years later, and I finally, I leaned, I mean, my God, I used to meditate 24 hours take a break and go back to it. So, and at one point, and I write about this in the E-Word, in 1997, I just looked at my meditation mat at 4 a.m. one morning, and I just went, screw it. I can't do this anymore. I am so frickin' tired of striving to kill my ego and striving for enlightenment, whatever the hell it is. And I just plopped down on my meditation mat, and I didn't light a candle, and I didn't do a chant, and I didn't do a mudra or mantras or incense or anything. I just closed my eyes and said, to hell with it. Well, of course, don't you know, when I, Kate Montana, came back into an awareness of being Kate Montana again, several hours had passed, and several hours of just radiant presence. I am pure existence, awareness of existence, pure existence, but not boundaried by any sort of structure called Kate Montana. Kate Montana was no longer there, but all of infinity was there. All of life. And it was like awareness, existence. Oh my God, existence. And so then, of course, don't you know, I spent the next year trying to get back to that place, which is incorrectly spoken right there. I wanted to get back to that place, but that place had no I in it. So, so I went back to the struggling and striving until finally, the next time I just gave up. I gave up wanting anything. And of course, then that started happening on a regular basis every morning for hours on end. I was no longer Kate Montana. I was just infinite consciousness. And talk about a sweet space. Oh my God. And then I was me again. I'd open my eyes and the world would rush in, and the separation experience would rush in, and Kate Montana, all the neurons in the brain that has the Kate Montana story going would fire, and like, oh my God, I've got advertising to do. I've got, a show to do. I've got a partner to take care of. I got a 5-acre garden I need to weed. And so I'm off doing the Kate Montana show. It was great. But oh my God, Kevin, I cannot tell you, for almost 17 years, I wrestled with what I called the dual reality conundrum, which is no Kate for hours on end, this blissful, sublime place of just awareness and consciousness and totally complete, replete.
Well, what's the matter?
And then it was me.
Yeah, but what is the matter? What was? Are you still? Do you still have the Kate Montana show now? I mean, you're still living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're watching the Kate Montana show right now, but I'm no longer fussed about it.
You're no longer.
I'm no longer fussed about it.
What
happened was. Yeah, well, so I was left with and this is this is why I wrote the doggone book. Most people were like me. We're stuck with the personal self, with all of its, problems and issues and hurts and foibles, struggling to be this divine something that we have no idea what we're really searching for, but we want it because we really don't like where we're at because it's so bloody uncomfortable and unrewarding ultimately. So we're trying to get over here. So I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until finally I sat down. Spirit pressed me to write the book. And it was only when I started writing the book that I remembered my psychology training. And I remembered that there's a middle ground between the limited boundaried ego self and the transcendent state of egoless awareness.
Otherwise we wouldn't be here, would we?
Absolutely. There's the transpersonal mindset. And that unlike enlightenment, which cannot be attained and it cannot be trained to attain it, The transpersonal mindset is this place where we begin to perceive ourselves not as boundaried and isolated from one another, but as part of the whole. And that perception can be trained. We can be educated
Right,
to understand
right.
that we are genuinely one.
Okay, well, that's
And so so when we move into this middle ground place, oh my God, that's when we get it all together. That's when we can create heaven on earth, because we're no longer these tortured, limited, separate, thinking
okay.
skin boundary, skin suit people.
Okay, so have you created your heaven on earth by coming from that middle ground?
Absolutely. Now, that said, do I go into tortured states occasionally in my humanity? Absolutely, I do. That's still part of me, but it's less and less and less. The more I focus on the truth that I really am one with you and everything else, the more I expand, not try to destroy my ego, the more I expand my ego. Yeah.
You expand it. What you expand it in a positive way or a negative way?
Expand, no, not linear, expanded, 360 spherical, the whole guacamole. Expand my understanding and expand. I do a whole bunch of I outline a whole bunch of practices throughout the book on how to understand what the ego mind is, and then how to expand it into this transpersonal state of awareness.
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Have you with that middle ground and the expansion that you with the work on yourself that you've done, which is just incredible, right?
Which is incredible.
Well, it is, because most people don't want to go to do it. They just they don't. When we're all guilty of that at some point. But have you found that you're able to have the life you want, attract the things in the life that you want, to manifest the life that you want?
More and more. More and more. And what's really fascinating, Kevin, is how fluid my life is becoming, how incredibly flexible I'm becoming. I'll give you an example. When I wrote the book, it came out in January of this year, 2017, and I actually started doing talks at different, like Unity Church and different spiritual centers. I started talking on about the book and about this transpersonal state of awareness that we can get to and start to live through. Well, okay, so I start talking, and I find myself backstage for my very first talk, and Kate Montana has crippling stage fright. The reason Kate Montana has crippling stage fright, okay, Kate Montana, my ego story, is because at age 8, I flubbed my first piano recital in front of like 200 parents and was mortified. Then fast forward when I was in grade 8, which is, I have no idea in your school system, but I was like 13 years old, and I was supposed to give a report to the entire student body on, I don't know, some war in Santo Domingo. And I memorized it, and I got up in front of the whole school and forgot it. And then the headmaster just let me hang for about 3 years, which 2 minutes maybe, and, was very acid and said, "Thank you for the enlightening report. You may sit down." So that was, horror number 2. And then in high school in a musical, I forgot my lines in a song. Horror number 3. Fast forward 40 years, Kate Montana has an issue with personal appearances and standing on stage. I mean, to the point of wanting to just vomit in a trash can. And so I'm standing backstage before I go on, and I want to vomit in a trash can. And all of a sudden, I was like, wait a minute. I'm not freaking Kate Montana. Shit, that's her story. Oh, God, that's right. I'm not that. I am.
Infinite
That's
consciousness.
her issue. I am pure consciousness. I took 2 deep breaths. I stepped out on that stage. Kevin, I haven't had stage fright to this day.
Good.
Because I put it in perspective.
Yes.
I had learned and trained my mind to get to this middle ground place where I am more expansive, less boundaried, and not attached to my story anymore.
Let's just the middle ground space is important because, let's face it, you're not wanting to leave this reality. You want to see it through, right? There's a lot of people that don't want to be here. They don't want to be here, and there's a lot of people completely wasting their life in this very moment as me and you speak, all throughout the world in this very moment, who are so sad, who have the beautiful family around them, but they don't want it, who just don't have
Yep.
the life they are so, yet, let's face it, right? They could be surrounded by people like me, and it wouldn't mean two shits. It wouldn't mean
Mm-hmm.
nothing to them. Okay, so we're banging on about this great place that we've both found, because I think I found it as well, to be honest with you, in
Mm-hmm.
some respects. But
Mm-hmm.
you've
Sure.
maybe a bit more down the line, which is cool, right? So what are we doing it for? I guess we're doing it just for ourselves, because if someone else wants to come on the ride with us, that's fine, but no one's forced to. But I mean, sometimes we can't make a difference, can we, in people's lives, because they just don't want it.
No, we can't force anything on it. You can't force anything on anyone. And
No, but
the more
what I'm saying is that, we do this work, right?
yeah.
Isn't it frustrating sometimes where it's just like, oh man, can't you just try to give this a go?
I get less and less. I don't go there very much anymore, because I know I am the whole. I know that it really is ultimately an illusion. But here's the deal. It's like, well, why bother doing anything if it's all an illusion? And I hear a lot of people talk, oh, well, this is all just an illusion. And it's part of that, oh, I don't want to engage life because it's too painful. I just want to sit on my meditation cushion. I just want to chant. I want to be love. And it's just like, well, and people want that. I wanted that because I was so freaking miserable. I wanted out of here. Let me out of here, because I couldn't learn how to manage this life. That's the whole trick, is learning who we are, what the ego is, and learn how to manage it so that we can expand ourselves and enjoy finally being here once we have gotten past the lie that our eyes, ears, nose, and everything else tells us 24/7, is that we're physical and separate. Once we can incorporate a broader viewpoint. For example, one of the exercises I give in my book, it's really simple. I call it the high me exercise. When I'm out walking, or if I'm in the grocery store, it doesn't matter. I look at a plant or a dog or an eagle flying overhead, and I greet them and I go, oh, wow, you're so beautiful. That's the first natural response. They're over there, I'm over here. But then I remind myself and I bow and I go, I am so beautiful. I acknowledge that I am that eagle. I am that sunset. I am that can of soup on the shelf in the grocery store. And I acknowledge it and rework. When I I'll drink a cup of coffee, I remind myself of, and there's different visual techniques you can use. Actually, one is a martial arts technique called soft eyes, where you look at an object and you don't stare at it, you let your visual field diffuse. And that's a really beautiful exercise to do, to be able, and then remind yourself that, interestingly enough, quantum physics tell me this is all one thing. It's all a quantum sea, and I am part of this. And electron repulsion guarantees that I never really touch this glass, even though my brain tells me I am. But if I have that diffused soft eyes, and I'm reminding myself I am one with this class, I am one with this computer, then that's something we can do in 30 seconds when we're sitting waiting for a conference call to come through. So that's the kind of work we have to do to remind ourselves of the actual truth of what's going on here on planet Earth.
I like the way that you were bringing in the physics into spirituality and to completely combine the two together. That's pretty cool, and that's the way that this field has gone, most definitely, and is going. And that's science is merging with spirituality in one sense. It is.
Yeah.
I just think about the universe sometimes, and I think about my problems, and I think about the infinitive universe, and I'm like, oh my God, an infinitive universe, and I'm on this speck of dust, and I'm thinking I'm stuck and I can't move on with my life. Hang on a minute, this infinitiveness out there is beyond our imagination. Come on, we can do whatever we can do the things that we want to do. Just think of the universe sometimes and how great that is, and we have to make the most of this life. That's what we came here to do, to make the most of it. We really did. And a lot of people out there actually make the most of it and do come from the space you're talking about, but will never be aware that they're coming from that space.
Yes, that's true.
They don't term it the words that we're terming it. They are anti the words that we're saying, and would be
Possibly,
against that actually this exists, but in their own reality. They're creating everything that we're talking about because they're coming from something that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We're coming from
yeah,
a all we're doing is talking about a state of mind
yeah,
that is an evolutionary
yeah,
next
yeah.
step.
So
And
yeah,
and we have all these indicators in our world, like the internet and all these global NGOs and this great coming together and Facebook and social media. We have this amazing outpicturing of the reality that we are all one and we're all
oneness,
connected. We live
oneness,
in a connected world.
oneness,
Yeah,
oneness. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So, what is your purpose right now, would you say? Hi guys, my name's Kevin Moore and I'm the host of The Moore Show. Now it's my purpose, my passion, my mission to help you guys become your greatest version. Now you might be looking to find answers on love, connecting with your life's purpose, reuniting with a loved one on the other side, discovering your past lives, or just helping you make sense in finding your direction. Now, as a multi-dimensional channel, I can connect with higher aspects of yourself to help you in this present moment to become your best version and live your most empowered life. Now, you can book myself for a reading by going to tmspsychics.com/Kevin, or you can get a reading from one of my many gifted team of readers. The Moore Show Psychics, helping you transform your present moment to the most loving and happiest it can be. Now, I also offer a full money back guarantee, so what have you got to lose? Empower your life today.
Know that I'm whole and that I am the whole. Why not make this dream possible? Back to that whole thing about illusion. I used to go along with so many other spiritual people. Well, all this is an illusion anyway, so what does it matter? I'm not going to get involved in politics. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit on my meditation mat and focus on love. And I've been there, done that. And now it's just like, the illusion is not that this is all an illusion. You sock me in the eye and it's going to bloody well hurt. And this world is incredibly pain-filled, filled with suffering. The world is not an illusion. What's an illusion is that we think we're separate from one another. The illusion is that we're physical and that we're separate having this experience. And so to bridge past that is huge, because then we become involved in the game and we are all one. And what I give into the quantum field is what the quantum field, experiences. It's either a lifting or a depletion. And so I choose to uplift and give to the whole because I'm giving to myself. I mean, ultimately it's the most selfish act in the world. Be loving and have a great life.
No,
it's beautiful.
That's a beautiful thing. So your purpose in this moment, which will change, which is okay, it changed before, it will change again, but maybe this is cool what you're saying. So your purpose is to uplift other people, which is in a sense helping yourself and helping the greater cause. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And so here's another example of flexibility. I was going to, the book just came out 2 months ago, so my publisher wants to sell lots of books. Well, I want to sell lots of books. My agent wants to sell lots of books. So I'm like in launch fever. And everybody's saying, well, you're doing workshops, and are you doing this, are you doing that? So I'm like, yes, I'm going to do workshops. And so I find myself feverishly running down the path of designing this workshop and designing that workshop and marketing and social media and marketing and social media. All of a sudden, I stopped a couple of weeks ago. I hit the wall and I checked in and I'm like, I'm not even happy. What the hell am I doing? Time out. So I'm on a sabbatical right now, because whatever I want to create a beautiful life for myself. Because that's what I'm in. If I create a beautiful life for myself, that doesn't necessarily, I watch a lot of spiritual people go down this road of, well, it's all about giving to the rest of humanity and giving to others until, I fall apart and bleed to death on the floor over here. It's just like, ew, and I'm uplifting humanity. And then I look at their life and they're not even be happy. So I'm kind of taking a time out to assess the real internal situation for myself. And, well, what do I want? Because I am the whole. I don't have to uplift the world. I don't have to do a damn thing. If I am a radiant, happy, radiant being, then I am giving the world the greatest gift possible. Now, if in that radiant happiness I choose to continue, and which I believe I will, choose to continue to talk about this subject and do workshops, then I will. But I can't do it from, I've got to save the world. It's just like, no. The world isn't out there. The world is in here. I got me.
But why? What? Okay, yeah, no. Why did you come on this show then? Why have you come and done this then? If you're on a sabbatical?
Well, because I choose to take care of my responsibilities and what I've set up. And as I say, I don't see that I'm going to just withdraw and become a hermit in the woods someplace. I've done that. I think this message is so critically important, Kevin. We have to get a handle on the ego. You know, the people in the regular world who mainstream, who don't give a shit about religion and spirituality, who is such a turnoff, and I don't blame them, but they can be approached through science, through quantum physics. They can get the message that way.
Yes.
They can get the message through psychology.
Well,
people are desperate to understand what's going on and why we're so unhappy in this world.
Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely. I said to you, we do things the hardest way. Now that was channeled through me. That was through the group called The One. It always said to me, us humans, you humans do the things the most difficult way. It doesn't have to be so difficult, right?
No, it doesn't.
No. But with what you've just said there as well. We can't ignore that. It's difficult to ignore the suffering of others, though, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I choose not to ignore it. It's not an illusion. There is suffering going on. And so I choose to, however this unfolds, I don't know. I know I was racing in a very unconscious fashion. It was interesting. One of my very first book signings at Barnes and Noble over here in the United States, one young man walked up to me and he said, "Well, aren't you afraid you're going to get trapped in your creation here?" And I went, "Oh, well, no, I'm not worried about that now, because the only way this book could come through me is because I got a handle on my story and my ego, and I don't think I can get caught up, and I'm not worried about that." Well, fast forward 7 weeks, and I'm laughing my derriere off on my front porch one morning going, "Oh my God, I'm so caught in my creation right now. I'm headed down this path like a house of fire, and I don't even know if that's how I want to structure it." That's why I took the time out. But I can't conceive that I would withdraw from talking about this subject, because this is the subject that needs to be talked about.
Yeah. Well, that takes a lot of balls, I think, for you to come on here and tell people that truth and to be transparent, because it's like me, this talk show is killing me in one respect, right? And I was saying this just off air, even though I'm right now doing 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, it's almost like I feel I've got to make a choice soon just to cut it down a bit more, but and for something else to come through. So I think sometimes we go through these big changes, don't we? And we have to be honest with ourselves if we're not happy what we're doing. That's the difficult part, isn't it? There's so many people that I hear as well. I'm not happy with my job. I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with my relationship, whatever it may be. Have you got any drugs? I want to escape my life. But no, I'm just having a kitchen party. But hang on a minute, that's escapism. Yeah, right. There's escapism all everywhere, isn't there? Sometimes in all different forms.
There's a lot to escape from.
Maybe the drugs. There is. Maybe the drugs is the doctor's giving us the drugs. Because we've said, "Oh, I'm depressed," so the doctor said, "Oh, well, there you go. There's a pill that will sort you out." Plant
medicine. Frankly, if you ask me, one of the greatest paths for people is plant medicine, and that includes marijuana. I have worked with shamans in South America and in North America in the desert, ayahuasca, wachuma, mushrooms, and they're definite gateways into this expanded mind.
Unless you've come up with some other way into that gateway. there are other
Unless
ways.
you've come up with some other way
Yeah,
into that gateway. Meditation. Oh my God,
meditation.
meditation
Yeah,
cannot be
yeah,
beat.
yeah. I think the ayahuasca, I think marijuana, I think everything in its right state, but I think not everyone
In
needs
its right
that.
state.
Yeah, not
And
everyone.
not everyone needs
No, no,
that.
no, because some people have we're all on a different path, but some people that's the only bloody way people to get in touch with their inner self is to do ayahuasca. Why do you think people do it? Not telling you that, just telling the audience that. Do you know what I mean? But they
Yeah,
probably already know that.
right.
Yeah, or maybe there's someone listening to this that's just hearing this information for the first time. Where are we at? What have we solved? What have we solved? I think I could truly say to you, I think you're a much happier person for meeting the middle way, and I don't think it will ever. There will never be an easy day completely. So to say that once you get enlightened, once you've sort of found spirituality, or you have this truth, not even a belief, you have the truth that you're more than your body. You've come from somewhere, you go back to it. That doesn't take away the burdens and and the pains that this reality presents to you. So it's all
No,
there's always going to be challenges.
absolutely.
Do
And
you
one of
think
the
comes?
biggest challenge
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
one of the biggest challenges right off the bat is when we do decide that we want something more. At that point, I really highly advise people not to get involved in religion or spirituality, because I realized that becoming a spiritual person was just one more story, and I ended up actually creating a massive spiritual ego. Whereas I said 15 years ago, if you'd asked me pretty much anything about anything, life after death, blah, blah, I would have told you everything because I had a story about how it is. So, um, so, so one of the things that I recommend in the book is that if mainstream listening to this is like tread carefully, jumping from the fat into the fire. A lot of people leave religion and go into this new age spirituality thinking they've found it, and all they've found is another story, which keeps us again separate from that moment of recognizing I am. And it's also a doorway at the same time. So, I'm not saying, no, don't go there. For some people, they have to because that's their path. But we have to find our path.
What's beyond spirituality then?
Beyond spirituality is simply life. I am. It's enough. I don't need a story. I don't need explanations, and I don't need a purpose. There is no purpose ultimately.
Kate Montana,
The purpose of life is life.
you've just killed
Isn't that enough?
You've just killed my audience now. So no more coming back to this show. We don't see. Well, why am I doing this then? Well, I suppose because why am I doing this? Well. Well, I do enjoy this. This is the only bit of my show I enjoy. None of it of the rest I enjoy. Yeah, just this space here. That's it.
Honey, me too. I mean, do I like re-editing, la la la? Do I like setting up a business corporation so I can blah blah blah? No. This is it. This is the moment of engagement, of engaging these questions, of expanding these minds. This is it.
Yeah, but
I live for these moments too.
yeah, okay, well that's good. See, you're not on your own. No one's on their own.
And at the same time, the rest of my task, Kevin, is to create a beautiful life where it's not about, because I'm already hooked up to life. It doesn't just have to be this moment with you and with an audience.
No.
I am hooked up to life 24/7, so I can breathe into that knowledge and be at peace. Where it's not all striving to get to this one moment when, this is the crystalline moment that makes a difference. It all makes a difference.
I've said to a few big name spiritual people out there, and probably got a bit of in trouble from them for it, but that's okay in the sense that I've said to them that what you've brought through in this book is you call it, it's not the ultimate truth. Actually, any book that's out there really there's probably been no book written on what the ultimate truth really is. Yeah.
No book can contain the ultimate truth or convey it.
No. But they're all footprints. They're all maps to back to yourself. They're all where you need to be right now. That's why if someone's teaching resonates with you and you don't want to go any further, but just with that teaching, that's beautiful. That's perfect. Yeah. No judgment whatsoever. You can go down the rabbit hole quite deep sometimes, can't you? And yeah, right, yeah, right. Earth to
I'll
Kev, Earth to
say.
Kev, right, yeah. But isn't where's the fun? We have to. I think whatever we do has got to be. It's got to be fulfilling. Otherwise, we've lost our alignment with what being wanting to be here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, if I say there's no purpose in life and there really isn't, because that's the mind trying to hook up some sort of explanation of this place. Oh my God, which takes us away from full on embracing and living I am. And that is it. When we live radiant lives hooked up, connected to ourselves, my God, we don't need purpose and meaning. We just live vibrantly, amazingly, radiantly, fluidly, adventurously. Wow, no borders, no boundaries, no limits.
I like what you're saying. That actually, I think that's what I like about it as well. Is if I can help waken people up to a better present moment, but then have I found that better present moment in me?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yep.
I mean, what's
is
my
the
present
thing.
moment always like? It's not always great amounts of fun sometimes, or happiness. Not always, because it's almost
Sure,
like.
and that's the way, and that's just life.
Yeah, I think it is,
That's
isn't
normal.
it? Yeah,
That's just normal.
But there are some things that yeah. But could we have a life where it is always beautifully just I'm so happy
Yes.
with my life right now. I love my life right now. I love every present moment about my life. I don't want anything to change in my life. Are we always trying to
Then
find?
we hit the wall.
Yeah. Or are we always trying? Are a lot of us on that trying to go on that journey to get there? But that's not the journey that we should be taking. It should be now.
There's no there to get to.
Right.
The ego will send us on a perpetual pony ride,
Well, it's funny you say that. Go on.
trying to accomplish something so that we will finally have it, or we will finally be happy. And it's all right here, right now. We just have to simply choose it.
But then you could be drawn to something though. There could be a situation where I really want, like for me to go to America, I just so want to go. I so want to
Yeah.
go, and I feel there's more happiness that awaits me over there than there is in this present moment. But that's not great because I can see your eyes like open up. I was like, oh God, did he just say that? Right? Okay, where's the present moment, right? But or maybe that's just I just know, or maybe I'm saying what's not true there. Maybe I just know that I've got to do that. But actually, I'm fighting my present moment right now. I'll be honest with you, probably a little bit.
I get that. I get that. Yeah. It's the trick is to, and this is why I'm on sabbatical. Yeah, I'm working on my sabbatical, but I'm not in this like fever pitch. This is what I'm going to do next creation mode. It's just like I realize I'm tapped out. I need to go deep within and search for the true path of how to express this understanding that I've come to. And so I have to follow my heart. I mean, God, these are all such platitudes and cliches. And the reason they're cliches is they're so damn true. But we have to take the time to source that and find, is this just a fleeting thought, or is my heart really pulling me in this
Now
direction?
hang on. You've said something really powerful here that most people would have just skipped over actually when listening back to this. So that's why I just want to put it back to what you just said. Go with the heart. That's exactly what I'm doing to make my choice to go to America, and that's exactly what any of us should do with any choices. So how much of our actions and what we do in our life, or what we're working on, or whatever it may be that we think of is our purpose, are we actually going with the heart with that? And I think the hardest thing is to admit to yourself that you're not. The hardest thing is to be honest with yourself. Sometimes we try to be honest with ourselves and what's pulling us to the heart, but we don't actually know if it is or not, because we're not actually even too logically sure if it is, let alone heart space. You just know, don't you? Because it feels so beautifully right, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So and I have been blessed in the last month. Actually, I ran into a gentleman on a TV show who he was a guest after me, and we got to talking afterwards. And he's the one who put the fly in the ointment for my, racing down this path. And he just reminded me, life was reminding me through him in that moment that I needed to step back, relax, open up, and receive and be more at ease and at peace and let what needed to come next flow through my heart rather than through my head going, oh my God, I have to follow what my publisher needs and I have to do this so my agent will, la, la, la. Mm-mm. Head, ego story.
Well,
Totally trapped, totally
maybe
caught up in my story.
in this interview, interview isn't just for the audience. This interview's for me and you. I mean, you know that, don't you?
Absolutely.
That we're taking something from this interview that maybe even later on we'll be like, shit, I didn't think of that. Oh, look what we talked about there. I've reminded myself again through that interview that life is, through me is speaking to you, and life through you is speaking to me.
Yeah, I am you.
Well,
I am speaking to you. You're speaking to me.
God, please, let's just get the message. Let's just get on with it and let's live that fulfilling life. Come on. How many of these do I have to keep doing?
As many as you choose to.
Oh, God. Well, this is 700 and something now.
Wow.
Well, they're like, Christ, he still's not getting it. Christ, send the next one in. Damn, he's resistant. Yeah. Well, no, but also sometimes, right, when these are happening, it's also, there's other reasons. It's not just for reminders. There's other things that I don't even know of this greatness of this life that I might meet you somewhere else in the future. Who knows that? Or, you just don't know, do you, what's around the corner?
No. And the way life works on a on a mechanical level is that you set off and you're going to do all these podcasts and these shows, and the momentum, you put energy, intent, focus, and physical presence, money, time, equipment, everything. You build and it's called momentum.
Yes.
And so it gains its own story and it takes us for a ride.
Oh, my ego hates it though, because I'm like, oh damn it, I've only got like 31,000 subscribers after all this work. There's barely no money in it, and my brother always reminds me, he's like, hang on, Kev, how many people have you helped? How many people have you helped? I'm like, but it is it helping me?
And it's not easy to, when we're on that Bronco that we, roped in off the range and saddled up and now it's taking us for a ride, to know, one of the keys in life is to know when to stop. And, I talk, it's one of the exercises, and it's one of the main things I talk about in my book is knowing when to stop, taking time to stop so that we know if we need to stop. If we do not, God, we live in this talk about a platitude. We live in this overwhelming, rushing river of a social world, and to tell people to stop, it's just like, oh my God, people are trying to learn how to do meditation in between, the bus stop and when they get to the car park. It's just like,
right, yeah.
God.
I'm sure what we've spoken about here will help a lot of people. I can actually say, if I think about this logically, that this platform that I've built right now actually is going to provide me the platform for my channeling. Now, I would not have known that. I would not have known that 2 months ago. I would not have known that 2 weeks ago. I would not have known that years ago. And I kept doing it, and and it was only recently it's come to me that because now I do the channeling, I've got probably one of the bigger platforms out there as a channeler. But that doesn't mean it's all for me. I'll just say that. That doesn't mean there's not share. That's fair, because I do want to share this platform with other people. I'm not ego enough to say it's, oh my, look at me, this massive, no. That's not fun. That's not fun. It's fun. It's so much more beautiful to share. And I think some people that I've met on this platform, and I'll include you on that as well. But I'm just saying, if I did. That I was meant to have met them. Had I not done this, it would not have been. So we can look back and say these things, I think, sometimes. But it's not always easy, is it? Because sometimes even people like me and you, who people will see as on the path, it can be very difficult.
Yeah, and we're always on the path. And it sometimes can be a real bitch. Even when you really think you've got it together, which up until a couple of weeks ago, I was sure I had it together. And then it all fell apart again. And part of this whole journey is of expanding the ego and setting down these boundaries and these stories, is that being able to be flexible, to let it go and not be attached. This whole, again, we're taught, these are the rules of spirituality, no attachment. But but the boundaried ego can't be unattached. It has to loosen its boundaries. Then it naturally becomes unattached. But that's the problem with spirituality is we have all these rules, but but who's having to obey the rules? It's the ego. Honey, I could do a whole show on manifestation. I mean, really, because who's supposed to be doing the manifesting?
Well, that's
Oh
what
my
I'm.
God.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's the main purpose. I'm where I am right now because I'm waiting to go to the US and I'm on a mission of manifesting right now. So all these interviews are helping me so much in that sense as well, and other people. I will say this as well, that if this resonates with anyone else out there, that I've been fighting. Maybe that's not the right word. It's not the right word. It's been like, oh, you're doing this channeling and it's never going to make you the money that you really wanted to have one day to let you do things and everything, or you can't make money from doing that. That's not what people do. People have normal jobs. So there's all this ego stuff there in a sense. I think it's ego. But then, yeah, it is.
Well,
Of course it is.
ego.
Of course it's
Everything.
ego. Yeah.
Let's get this straight, Kevin.
Yeah.
Everything is ego until there is no ego,
Right.
and then it's all enlightenment.
Right.
Okay.
And
So it's like, what shape is your
well,
ego in? That's the issue.
Right. Okay. So, because we're well over time, have you ever met anyone? Have you ever met anyone that's not got the ego?
Yes.
What was it like, and who were they?
Scared the crap out of me.
Wow.
And it's my guru. His name is Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, and he's from Coimbatore, India.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and he uses the persona. He uses his personality very well, to great effect. And he's a global humanitarian. He speaks at the UN, but there's no one home.
Well, yes, that's for sure. Yeah,
true.
unfortunately, yeah. Well, let me ask you, Kate, because I think we've done justice to your book here. I think we have, because this is what the book contains in it, all that we've spoken about, and I don't know where all this has come from because I've not really read it, but I think we've managed to keep it within the context. We could have gone on and on, right? We could have gone on and on here, right?
Absolutely.
What would you say? You probably mentioned this already, but what would you say is the most important message of your work?
Wow. There's hope. Better than hope. It's inevitable that we grow and expand and evolve. It's inevitable. And the trick is to relax. The trick is to stop and take a breath. And, we don't have to do all this stuff. We don't have to join an ashram. We don't have to meditate 24/7. We don't have to have all this stuff. We simply need to take time, an hour a day, and contemplate the quantum sea. Contemplate the question, who am I? And just be quiet with it. Turn off the iPhones, turn off the everything, go out and sit under a tree. To learn to be, the great Zen saying is that you should spend 20 minutes a day in nature. And if you're too busy to do that, you should spend an hour.
Yeah.
And that's really the crux of it right there. Take the time to ask yourself the question, who am I? Contemplate these questions, because it will lead you into a much expanded sense of self that is less boundaried, more fluid, more limitless, more enjoyable. And that's the trick. It's so easy. We miss it. It's so easy. The ego loves complicated. So that's what I'd like to say.
And I'll add on there as well, and if you're not happy with your life, then just try to figure out your purpose. And if you can only live your purpose an hour a day, that's the start. Even half an hour a day, whatever it may be. Yeah.
Oh, purpose. You see, here we go with purpose. Then we got to find something, and then we have to find an answer, and then there has to be an outlet, and then there's got to be a structure
Do what
around
you
it.
love.
If we could simply just relax into our own being, then we simply are present and beautifully aware, and totally fulfilled in a moment. And what flows from that wow. That's the trick. But we're always trying to find the purpose or do this, and that's going to inflow and make me happy. We've got it backwards. We simply have to learn to be present with our real being. From that, everything flows. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things shall be added unto you. That's how it works. But we're mesmerized by the exterior world, and the mind tells us we have to have meaning and purpose, and we have to be enlightened, or we have to help people. Whew. Go within. Then let what comes forward. That'll be your true path.
And that true path will still be what comes from that. By connecting to that space that you're talking about, that space may talk back to you in some form and say, whatever form that may be, and say, well, yeah, that's your purpose over there, or that's what you would love to do, do it, or... But you're saying go back into that before you even think about just going to live your purpose. Go into that first.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that's
keyword there being thinking about your purpose. You're so off base. If you're thinking about your purpose, you're screwed.
Well, you might be living your purpose, but those who are not living their purpose. But isn't living purpose really just doing what you love? That is simple. Yes. Just doing what you love.
Yes. Doing what you love. That's the natural expression of life.
Right.
Blossoming, unfolding, evolving. That's the natural journey.
We
get all hung up in this head stuff.
Yeah, you might just be a mum. You might be giving people readings. You might be an accountant. You might a doctor, whatever. What?
You might be a dog groomer. You might be a bus driver. You might be a aging hippie. It's all good.
Yeah,
whatever
it is, with no judgment, because there's lots of things you could do out there. Do it with love. Do it with the love of actually enjoying doing it.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't muster love, don't worry about it. Just go within and be with yourself, and the love will come.
Go with joy.
Just be easy with yourself.
Well, Kate Montana, this has been very, very interesting. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure our paths will cross again. I'm sure they will.
I think so, Kevin. Absolutely, especially if you're headed over here. It would be great. I'd love that.
Blessings to you, right?
Thank you. Same to you and everybody listening.
Well, we've come to an end on today's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on our past and upcoming guests by going to themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe. What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.